Your mind has an attitude,
Yes, it
and that attitude, that posture has been formed by whatever culture you grew up in, by your family norms, by the educational systems you were involved in. And so now as we come to know the Lord as Bishop, well, we could have stayed right there with that, tapping into just that, the mind of God, and becoming, walking in that level of sophistication, that mental ability that goes beyond the norm. That's what starts to reshape our mental attitudes. That's why we have to spend time in the Word. The Word reshapes those bents and attitudes and postures of our mind. Did that answer? Okay.
Okay, but I'm going a little bit deeper though. I just want to know, just in real life, give an example of an individual displaying the fact that the mind has its own spirit, character, and attitude. Like, give an example.
Okay. One of the main places that you can find it is in marriage. When you bring two people together with two different mental spirits. And a lot of divorce takes place because those two postures are so strong and nobody wants to relent, nobody wants to give in. Now, one thing you must have to get married is you must be filled with the Holy Ghost if you want to stay. Praise our Jesus. Because just the two, the male and the female, is so different in how we think, our perceptions. And so you come in to an example. When my husband and I are so different, if you put us with a group of people and you were choosing who was married to who, you would never put us together. Absolutely, positively never. He's an only child. And so everything, his mental attitude was geared toward everything turned inward to him. Everything done alone. Everything quiet. Everything. His perceptions were so different than mine. For me, everything involved family. Whatever you're doing, you invite the whole family over. And he's looking like, why are they here? I'm trying to give a simple example, because in his mind, the way his mental attitude was, we're here, so why do we need all these other people? Is this a simple enough? Okay. And so there had to be, he had to be renewed in his mental posture to understand, okay, this is what we do. The first Christmas that he was there, when he saw how I did Christmas, he was about to flip completely out. Like, what? How many more gifts are you going to buy? Well, why does one child have more than one thing? What? Because for him, his mental posture was, Christmas is just mom and I. We give one gift to each other. We have dinner and we're done. For me, Christmas starts at the first sale after Christmas. Because my brother has 6 children. I have 4 godchildren. And so at Christmas, there's stuff under the tree, in the hallways. I mean, stuff is everywhere. But in his mind, it was like, this is the most ridiculous thing I have ever seen. So he had to submit. I, on the other hand, had to submit to understand or change my mind that everything with family doesn't have to be loud. Because if the Johnsons ever get together, my father's side of the family, you can hear them blocks away. And it's just, stop it. And it's only a few of them. And so I had to come to understand that his quietness was not a negative. It was a change of posture for me. Oh, everything during the day doesn't have to be loud. I'm just trying to give you something simple to understand how through the way we're raised, through all of that plays a part in the mental attitude, the bent of our mind, and it's shown in our behavior. Was that simple? And
I wrote down in my little notes just somebody knowing that they have to lose weight. The battle that is, and how the mind will play tricks on you. The doctor will tell you you have to lose weight because you need cholesterol meds, or you're going to have high blood pressure or diabetes. But your mind, its demeanor, its spirit is saying, no, I gotta have the milkshake. No, I gotta have a piece of apple pie. And sometimes you give into it because it has its own spirit. Its own spirit. All right, wonderful. Let's give another hand.
To change their thinking by the words you speak to them, by how you interact with them. So my input would just be, whatever time you have, give them everything positive you can within that time frame.
I certainly agree with Apostle on that. One other thing I would perhaps add to that is because of the power that works within you. I guess we got to be quiet about this one, but be a bit subversive about how you pray for them. Lay hands on them unknowingly. Speak life to them inaudibly. Look for the spiritual power that's within you. Transfer what you're praying for unto them. I just believe that as spiritual people, we have the power of influence. And unfortunately, you only have them for part of their lives, part of their day, part of their week. You just have a small part of that. So you don't get a chance to change the culture that they spend most of their time in. You just don't. It'd be wonderful if you could, while instructing them, you could instruct their parents too. But unfortunately, that's not the case either. So I would say, if you're okay and courageous enough to do this, speak life to them and pray for them. And I know you can't mix religion and education and all that, but there are some things you can do and nobody even knows you're doing it. That can work, and I believe it will work. And they may come back asking questions, like the Apostle said, years later, and that may be a chance when you can unfold. Well, in addition to saying those positive things I said to you orally, I also prayed for you. And I'm sure you're probably doing all those things already. Just don't stop doing them, and don't become weary in your well-doing. We need teachers like you.
Yes.
One more question?
I'd just like to add something to that. I grew up with a single parent, and I'll never forget watching television. And I didn't know it was Maya Angelou until I got grown to be 30 years of age. But she said something that dwelled on me from the television program. She says, use your mind, and it'll take you where you want to go. And from that day on, I had to be about 15. I kept that in my mind. And as I grew, I wanted to go to Paris. So she said, use your mind. And I used my mind, and I went to Paris.
In a clear, unified, Christ-centered framework, and enables us to more systematically and comprehensively nurture and use these habits we live, thinking and acting well, out of Jesus's indwelling life for his glory. That it comes from without and not from within. I mean, it's come from within, from not from without. It's a Christ-generated, Christ-motivated, Christ-stimulated, Christ-initiated kind of behavior.
Awesome. Awesome. Number 4, I want you to tell me something that you went through where you learned from your mistakes. Something that really stuck with you. Something in the past.
And tied into our themes?
Yeah, tied
Okay.
to,
Okay.
transformational thinking.
Oh, Jesus. I almost hate to tell you this because I know a lot of you think I walk on water.
want you to be real. Be real.
I don't walk on water, but I'm not afraid to get out of the boat either. I think if I were to share with you something that has been most transformative in my own life that changed my thinking, and I think that's your question.
Yes.
Would be perhaps my initial behavior when getting away from home and going to college. Okay. I was raised in a very staunch holiness environment. Holiness, as I learned it up to that point, was defined pretty much by what you did not do.
Right.
When I got away from home as a freshman in college, surrounded by a lot of young men such as myself who were not raised like I was raised, it created for me a real challenge to rethink salvation.
Okay.
Because some of them claim, as I did, being saved.
That's right.
But did not necessarily behave the way I behaved. Look, a long story short, I fell deeply into sin.
Okay.
It was not so much my disgusting behavior that caused me to hold on to the little bit of Christ I held on to.
Okay.
It was finding out that he still loved me. So it wasn't so much of me holding on to him best I could. It was how he refused to give up on me.
So that experience in college transformed your thinking about salvation.
Absolutely.
Toward myself until I got to the place where I don't need a compliment from people. I tell myself, I rehearse that word. And you know, whatever God delivers us from, that enemy is always standing there waiting for another opportunity. And when I sense that, I remind myself, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. So I think that's an example of this word being spirit and life, and also a testimony of what caused me to change my speech, particularly regarding myself. All right? Did that?
Yes. Okay, that was very.
God helps us to become without struggle. Right. That was the phrase. Okay. So the question is, what do you think is the purpose of struggle for a leader, and what was some of your thoughts, or what was the transformational thinking for you when you went through struggle that helped you to come out on top, instead of making it so worse?
Struggles perhaps have the intent. Struggles like suffering, and I'm going to sort of tie them together, have the intent of transformation. But transformation does not arrive out of struggle alone. As a matter of fact, I did that. I posted it on Facebook one day this week. It's the attitude by which you handle the struggle that often determines whether or not the struggle becomes transformative. If you don't handle it with the right mindset, you can struggle all day, no transformation takes place. So I believe it's the mindset by which you handle the struggle, your response to it, how you even pursue the God that allowed it.
Oh my God. Starting off in here. Oh my God. Jesus.
The human tendency, I think, perhaps, is to avoid the God who allowed it. That's what atheists and agnostics raise as some of their arguments. How can a God who's supposed to be so loving allow X, Y, and Z. But when I understand that he's a God who never leaves me nor forsakes me,
That's
I will
right.
even pursue the God who allows my struggle.
To ask Apostle Freeman, because as you were stating the words and what you thought you heard, you know, when you were younger, and just dealing with, like my daughter's age, the age of 13, that age group, they're battling so much with their self-esteem, getting affirmations from all over. So I know you had your experience with God, but we still in the natural, what did you tell yourself immediately when those thoughts came back again?
Just keep that constant reinforcement going in her life. If you have those people who are a wisdom counsel for her, to look, whenever you see her, I need you to speak positive. I need that's it. That's it. And it's got to be done consistently.
All right, wonderful. On page 116, under transformational thinking is healthy thinking. At the top paragraph, it says, transformational thinkers act with confidence and boldness. They demand victory and work toward that end. They not only know that God is for them, but they act on that truth. Defeat is not an option. Absolutely awesome. This is the question. Each of you tell of an experience that you had in the past, whereas you acted out this process. You acted with confidence and boldness. You demanded victory, and defeat was not an option. What were your thoughts, Bishop? And what did you say to yourself, Apostle?
That's great. This is a marketplace experience. my first real job, I worked my way through school because I got married while in college, so I had to work for lots of reasons. But my first real job after college, I shouldn't say a real job because I thank God for all of them. But my first significant job after college was with Exxon Company USA before they became Exxon Mobil. I was going into the field of sales and marketing. Part of the training for that program required a 12-week training in Houston, Texas, the headquarters. When I got to the class of about 60, there were just two minorities, one myself and one female who was a graduate of Virginia Union in Richmond. So we were the only two minorities in the group. Everybody except the two of us were Ivy League graduates. This is the heavens true. I've told this story many times. We're Ivy League graduates. When they asked me where I go to school, I told them Morgan, and they never heard of it. My constituency, those who were coming to the program like I was, they never heard of it. This 12-week program was based upon learning sales, learning marketing, learning how to run the oil and what we call TBA business, tires, batteries, and accessories. Because my job I was to find property, close on the property, have service stations built, find dealers to put in those service stations, and make that dealer a success. That's what my job was. Because I was outnumbered, and to be honest with you, I really felt outlearned, underexposed. Because a lot of those kids, after hearing their conversations, were raised up in environments that perpetuate this thing. There was nothing about milking cows and feeding chicken and shoveling manure that seemed to lend itself to my success in that setting. But I had a determination that I would not be defeated, that I would successfully complete it and do well.
Amen.
Long story short, at the end of the 12 weeks, they had a literal graduation. you're looking at the valedictorian.
Amen. That's right.
It came out of determination that through Christ, because I was a believer, through Christ I can do all things.
Yes.
It became a mindset that defeat was not an option. That in me there was nothing but success because Christ lived inside.
Amen.
Healthy.
Mine was as a leader, and it was when we were purchasing our building. The challenge to move and have a stable place came after a mass exodus of individuals who were in leadership and brought in money. And I'm wondering, why now? Because I had a little David syndrome and I was numbering the people, looking at naturally what was left and saying there's no way. And so the challenge was to see where God was taking us. And the word that Bishop brought to us about 2 years prior to that said, there is a prepared place. Y'all remember that word? Yes. He told us, he said, when you go in, you're going to drive out the inhabitants, little by little. I had to go back and feed my spirit and my mind. I listened at that over and over and over until it saturated my mind. And then it became my vocabulary. Yes. And I kept saying, there is a prepared place. Yes. We will drive out the inhabitants little by little, lest the land will consume us.
That's what it said.
And that word, I believe, I transferred to the house.
Yes, you did.
And our faith together stood against every opposing force that came up against us. Every time it looked like we had all the money, something else would come up. But our faith stood against the ruling principalities of that township that said, we won't let you in. Amen? And so we began to speak faith, didn't we? We began to declare, this is our house. And once we were in and they were saying, well, you still don't have the mortgage. Pastor Sarah folded her arms one Sunday and said, I ain't going nowhere. I said, neither are we. So it was in that moment that the word pulled my mind up out of doubt.
Yes, Lord.
See, that's why you have to have your prophecy. That's why you need to have it written down. You need to go back and be able to listen to it again and again. Let it saturate your mind, and then your prophecy becomes your vocabulary. And you start declaring it. We thought our way and spoke our way into 110 Crescent Gibbsboro. Change that has taken place for us. We thought it, we spoke it, and now it is. So that was my experience as a leader, us going into the house, the set place, the prepared place that God had for us. That was my experience.
Okay, awesome. Apostle put us on a fast the week of Christmas, 1 meal a day. I said I'm going to keep that fast until I get confirmation from both of them that they was going to do this. And Lord knows I lost a lot of weight.